Good.
Hello, and we are live. How are we, everybody? I hope we are well. Today I have the lovely Angela joining us for our lunchtime lives. Angela's been on before, talking about a hot topic in more ways than one, talking about menopause. So I just want to make sure that whoever comes on can see us and that everything's fine. And you froze there for a little bit, so I'm hoping our internets are going to play ball today.
Yeah,
anyway,
we'll see.
I can't see anybody there at the moment.
That's all right. We'll see what happens.
Having trouble connecting, please. We will wing it as we always do. Okay, well, hopefully the internet will perform and we'll be good to go. Yeah, you're freezing again.
Okay, we'll just keep going.
I've just gone. Oh my goodness, it's my internet.
Okay, we'll just keep going.
Righto. Okay. Oh, and now you're dropping out. Okay. So today we are talking about menopause with Ange. This is part of the Sequins and Sand Lunchtime Lives series here on the Sequins and Sand Facebook page every Wednesday, Thursday, Friday at 12 o'clock. And it was a way for us to connect and reach out, particularly during this corona time when we thought it's very unstable, people are going through a lot of change and there's a lot of uncertainty out there, a place to ground you. We've been covering 7 topics, and today I think we're up to session number 28 or something like that out of 35. So we are powering through. And today's topic on health, is all about menopause. So when Ange was on last time, we were talking about, is this menopause? And it started the unearthing of what myths there are about menopause, I guess, and whether we feel we are in the stage of menopause, and a little bit about the background of menopause so that we can identify it for ourselves. Ange is a menopause coach and expert.
Okay, so Anita seems to have dropped off. Not sure what's happened to her, so I might just take over. Oh, there.
Go for it, Ange.
She's back again.
Yes,
we're both having internet connections.
Tell us a bit about you, Ange. I've given a bit of a background as to what we did last time, but tell us about you and what you do and what you love to help women do.
Okay, so I am a menopause coach, but I'm a qualified naturopath and I'm a kinesiologist, and I've been a naturopath for nearly 20 years now, and I've worked with so many different women in different stages of their life, and now I work with women as they're moving through this menopause transition. And the entire journey can take up to 10 years from the time hormones first start to change to when we finish our periods, and then everything kind of settles down at the other end. Now, it can be a 10-year journey for some women, and some women see this as a really, well, it's an uncomfortable time of life, but a lot of people have a lot of negativity around it. And my aim, my mission is to change the narrative around what menopause is all about. And I think one of the first things we need to do is we need to be talking about this more, because I've been having a few interviews with different people, different women lately, just to learn a little bit about what they think menopause is about, what they thought menopause was about before they got to menopause, and the number of women that tell me I had no idea. So many women have no idea what menopause is going to be all about. And then when their body starts to change, they don't know what's going on. So it's a bit of a shock for them. They're confused. They go out there and they try and find answers, and everybody's got an answer and they don't know what to do. And so my aim is to kind of cut through some of the confusion, to educate women and just to open the conversation, just so that it's not a shock. Because this menopause, my biggest message, if there's nothing else that you learn from me, is menopause is not a disease.
Yeah.
It's a natural stage of life that every woman that's ever had a period will go through. Every woman. So half of the population will go through menopause, yet we don't talk about it. It's a big secret.
Crazy, isn't it?
A lot of women are ashamed. They don't want to talk about it. And we need to really start talking about it. We need to celebrate it. This is a time of celebration. This is a time of celebration. Just like other stages in our life, when we first get our period is a time of celebration. When we fall pregnant is a time of celebration. When we give birth is a time of celebration. Unfortunately, we don't necessarily celebrate the beginning or the end. We celebrate pregnancy, we celebrate birth, but the rest of it, we're not celebrating our stages of being a woman. So that's kind of what I do, is I help women really understand what's going on so that they can see the beauty and the joy in. Also, I mean, it is a tough time. It's a tough time for some women. It's a transformation. And just like I was actually thinking about this the other day, you know, when we fall pregnant and we've never been pregnant before, I don't know if you can remember this, but your body just seemed to change. There were lots of aches and pains, and things could kind of shifting as, you know, the baby settled in, the boobs got bigger and the hips got wider. And, you know, for the first 3 months for some women, it was very, very uncomfortable. They were very sick. They were very tired. Our bodies were changing. But we didn't go to the doctor and say, hey, give me a pill to stop all this.
Yeah.
Very
true. Very true.
We celebrate that. And then the actual act of giving birth is not a painless one. The majority of it is
the same experience. Yeah, that's right. And just like menopause is a different experience for every woman, so is birthing, you know, and we hear so many women say, well, if I knew more, I probably wouldn't, you know, I don't know that I would have gone there. But we do, because
we do. And we go back and do it again, don't we?
We do. We go back and do it again. We do. And I think
so we only have to do menopause once. Let's do it well.
Yes. Yeah, that's exactly right. And it is a gift. I think to your point about we don't talk about it much and all this negativity, you know, the media plays such an important role in a lot of messages that we receive. And, you know, we work in the body confidence space here at Sequins and Sand and have those mindset conversations around all of that too. And a lot of that stems from negative messages. I think it's almost like it's not newsworthy unless there's some kind of catastrophic or negative connotation associated with it. They don't want to go there. So I think we're the good news people. You know, it's kind of like, let's just let's spread the good news and let's celebrate life, and not so much hang out for it to wait to slap us in the face in a negative way. Let's talk about the good stuff.
Totally. And when we actually look at this stage of life with a positive light, rather than this is a time of dread, this is a time of shame, this is a time of, you know, discomfort and pain and all of that, if we actually looked at it as a celebration, as the next stage of the best part of our lives, you actually find that the symptoms start to come down, because what you've done is you've reduced the stress in your life. And when I spoke last time, I spoke about the fact that the biggest underlying cause of symptoms that women experience is stress. So if we can actually stop worrying about it and just accept that this is the way it is, yes, our bodies are changing. Just like when we very first got our period, our bodies changed. Now we're doing everything in reverse because our hormones are coming back down rather than rising back up. Things change, our body changes, but if we see that as this is the first time, you know, the beginning of the next stage, because in the past, women didn't live much longer past their menopause stage of life. We've got a gift in our society in that we're basically only halfway there, because our lifespan is so much longer. We've got so much more that we can do, and we've given to everybody else, partners, family, everybody, we've given to them. Now it's time for us. And this is one of the big things so many women say to me once they've kind of got through the changes, and then they've stepped into that wisdom. It's like, this is my time. And, you know, I don't really care what other people have to say. They really don't give a damn. And they stop listening to the rest of the world. Jenny, your wisdom is in there. You just don't need it to come out. It is there. Every one of us have the wisdom. And that wisdom comes from our life experiences. It's there.
That's it. It's there. Well, actually, Jen probably has sparked a great thing to talk about today. So if we step back a little bit, and for the girls who didn't join us last time, and just give us a definition of menopause and broadly what's going on, what then should we be looking for, or how are some of the ways that we can embrace those changes and turn that supposedly negative into a positive, Angela?
Okay, so menopause simply is, it's just really a line drawn in the sand. Perimenopause is the time before your periods stop, and it can last, you know, up to 10 years beforehand. Your hormones can start to shift, and as your hormones shift, it changes the way that your body functions. And part of this is also a part of aging, that our bodies are getting, you know, they're getting older. Menopause is simply 12 months after your last period. Right. Generally will happen between about the ages of 48 and 52. Somewhere in that stage is where most women will go into a natural menopause. Now, there are women who are going into early menopause. Sometimes that's due to medical conditions, so cancer, hysterectomies, things like that, or they're just going into an early menopause, and that's generally because their hormones are out of balance. And I've seen and I've worked with women that when we get their hormones back in balance again, what was deemed to be an early menopause, they get their periods back and then they go into a natural menopause. Time after our menopause, so that 12-month day, whatever that day is post-menopause. But most people can, it's really the transition. So I call it the menopause transition as we move from one stage to another. And there's lots of different symptoms that can be happening at that time. You know, we can have hot flushes, problems sleeping, weight gain, irregular periods, lots of different things that can be happening in that time period. So that's kind of what menopause is, and I can't remember what the second half of the question was that you asked.
So with understanding what menopause is, and the fact that we can be perimenopausal for quite a few years leading, you know, going through that stage, leading up to that line in the sand that you call menopause. And then as we go through that 12 months of change, which I guess that's where a lot of your focus is as well. As we journey through that 12 months, I guess, what are some of the things that we can recognise as perhaps commonly changing in our bodies so that we don't get overly stressed or overthinking what might be happening? Maybe there's things that alarm bells, there might be alarm bells that do go off for certain things. But what are some of the, without making a sweeping generalisation, but kind of looking at a middle ground, some of those?
Okay, yeah. So every woman's experience is different. For some women, it's absolutely nothing changes except one day their period stops and they don't ever get it again. And that's actually the way it is supposed to be. That's normal. So that's normal. What is common, though, is that women start to get, their periods might become irregular. They might find that their cycles are shorter. So rather than the 28, 30 days, it becomes shorter. So, you know, they may bleed a lot heavier. They may bleed for longer than a week. That's very, very common. It's not normal, but it's very common, and that's because progesterone levels are coming down. Hot flushes, very, very common. So many women are experiencing that. And with hot flushes, even that can change. It can go from a quick, 10-second heating up to 30 minutes of profuse sweating. Yeah. So even hot flushes can change or can be different. Weight gain, particularly around the middle, is a big one, which doesn't come off. So, women are used to putting weight on and losing weight, but once they get to this stage of life, it's the not being able to lose it again, and then it starts building up and building up and building up, and probably many of your clients are experiencing that. And then we'll look at the emotional side of things. It's like it's almost, it is very similar to when we were in puberty. I'm not sure who I am anymore. I don't know what my purpose is. As our children get older and they become more independent, a lot of women are kind of going, well, what's next for me? My kids don't need me because they're growing up. Who am I? What am I going to do for the rest of my life? And this is a big thing. And many, many women feel like they're lost at this time of life. Mm. And that's where I start working with women. It's like, they kind of come to me with their physical symptoms, but then we get into who am I and am I good enough? So I'm not good enough is a really big thing for so many women. And value. What's my value when I'm not a hands-on mum anymore? Where's my value? Yeah. And for some women, they start to look at relationships and then their relationships break down. There's a lot of women who leave relationships at this stage of life. Also, or their husbands leave them. That can happen. But a lot of relationships break at this stage of life when women start to change, and sometimes they kind of really embrace the next stage of their life, and their husband's kind of still looking for the woman he married, 30 years ago, and she's kind of going, I've left the building. And then the marriage breaks down, or women just decide that they want something different. So lots of this kind of happens at this time of life. There's a lot of it. And unfortunately, one of the downsides of that is that, and I'm not sure if you're aware of this, is the largest demographic of homelessness in Australia is women over the age of 50, which is really, really shocking, because a lot of them have been raising families and everything, and then they split from their husband, and their husband takes the house, takes the money, takes everything, and leaves them without anything. It's very, very common. Oh my goodness. Which is, I work with a local women's shelter, and it's a really big thing. I think it's really important that women are, they're given the information to actually understand, whilst I work in the hormones and that, but it's all kind of built in together, because a lot of it's to do with their self-esteem. A lot of it's to do with them feeling like they're good enough. And because when you've got a higher self-esteem, you will fight for yourself rather than kind of moving away meekly, if that kind of makes sense. So there's a lot of, coming to terms with who I am at this stage of life. And it can go in all different directions. But the beauty is it's almost like you can reinvent yourself. You've got different decisions that you can make. You can truly tap into what is it that I wanted. What was it that you gave up in your early 20s when society told you that this is the way you have to go? You have to get a job, you have to earn money, get married, have children. What did you give up? And so many women did give things up. They gave up dreams. They gave up, what they truly wanted to fit into the mold of what society wanted of them. Now it's time to actually reclaim some of that, and women start painting again, or they travel, or they do all these different things that they wish they had been able to do when they were younger, but they couldn't. And I think particularly, I feel that women of our generation, a lot of them kind of missed out on that traveling time. And young women now go traveling, and they go around the world. I know I didn't travel. Now I wish I had, but I went into a corporate job, and I worked, and I earned money so that I could, and I climbed the corporate ladder, and then did all the things, married, children, all of that. And now I'm older, my kids are almost finishing school, so it's like, okay, so what am I going to do? I actually want to go traveling. I don't necessarily want to go traveling with my husband. So I want to travel by myself, but still come home. That's okay. I come home sometimes, but I want to go out with other women. I want to go travel with other women.
Hands up, girls, if you're hearing Angela's message and you agree. I tell you what, I totally get all of that. And they're the very same conversations I hear in my world as well. And they're coming to me for different reasons than what they're going to you for. But those conversations are the same. Let me tell you, we are having them. And you're absolutely right. That whole sense of this is my time in particular. And I think if we can say, well, okay, menopause in a way gives us permission. It gives us, not that we need permission, but sometimes we need something to grasp onto that's tangible, that says, okay, I'm going to use this to give me permission. And if that's the case, what are maybe 3 things that you wish women out there would do to help them embrace this next phase of their life and leverage that opportunity that menopause presents for us?
Probably first thing is really embrace the fact that menopause is a stage of life, and you will go through it. Get yourself educated so that you understand. I believe knowledge is power. So when you understand what is happening and what's happening to your body, you can go, okay, so this is part of my transformation. This is part of my, transition from this stage of life to the next stage of life. And then it doesn't seem so scary. It's like, because you understand what the possibilities are. And, you may have symptoms, you may not. But once you know what's going to happen and what causes them, you can say, well, okay, so I realize that if I get really, really stressed, I'm more likely to have symptoms. So what do? I look after myself, I look after my body, and I bring my stress down so that I can actually reduce the symptoms. So it's just really changing what the word menopause means to you, or what it does or doesn't mean. And for many women, they have no knowledge what that means at all. Yeah. The other thing is, the next word is aging, because that's got a really negative connotation to that. We're absolutely all getting older. But if we went, okay, well, actually, no, I'm getting wiser. And
it's a privilege. I'm still here. It's a privilege.
And
having just lost a friend of mine to breast cancer at the age of, just 50, it's a privilege that we're here.
Totally. And the life we've lived, no matter what's happened in our life, we've got lessons from it. And that's the wisdom that we have. And Jenny said she hadn't found her wisdom yet. She just doesn't recognize it, because she's learned things and she's made changes, guaranteed that, because we do this, something happens, we learn, we adjust, and we move on. And we learn from that. And that's the wisdom that we get from being, 50, because now we've got, if we just take the first 10 years when we were learning everything because we were children, but, now we've got like 40 odd years of wisdom behind us that we can share with other women, because the women who are coming behind us, they need to know this stuff too. They need to know that what's possible. And we are probably the first generation of women that can actually show what's possible, because we are living longer. And we go out there and start looking at what some of these women are doing who are in their 50s and beyond, looking at, the Jane Fondas, Oprah, what they're doing. That shows you what's possible for a woman over the age of 50. If you had gone back to our mother or our grandmother's generation, they had nothing, because there was, one, they didn't have the media that we have, but there was no role models, because people weren't living that long. So we show the women coming behind us what's possible. And that's what we've got. That's actually a gift that we've got. And it's just embracing that. And even if you're feeling lost, one thing I learned from Liz Gilbert, I don't know if everyone knows who Liz Gilbert is, Elizabeth Gilbert. She wrote Eat, Pray, Love and Big Magic, and City Girls was the last one. But what she said, and this was, I think, was in Big Magic, I'm not sure, but she said, you don't need to, if you don't know what your purpose is, don't worry, just get curious. Every single day, be curious about what might come, and just be curious. Try different things, try different crafts, try different things. And then following on with what Liz said, because I saw her live, when was that, last year or earlier this year? It just seems like it was so long ago. It's before we all got locked in our houses. And she said, sometimes your purpose is not, to change the world. Sometimes your purpose might simply be to be there when someone needs you. And she's told the story of, she saw there was a guy up a ladder or something. She's walking down the street, a guy up the ladder. It was a bit shaky, and she held onto the ladder so that it was more stable for him. And then he came down and she just went on her way. And she said maybe her entire life purpose was to be in that spot at that time to hold that ladder so he didn't fall. She doesn't know. And if we start looking and things, maybe this is what our purpose is. We don't know what our purpose is, but if we show up every single day, be curious about what's happened, maybe that's all our purpose is just to be ourselves and to live the life that we want to live. And that's what I want for women.
Yeah. And to let go enough to really explore the possible. You know, I think it's far easier to kind of go, well, I'm not going to go there, because they're the tricky questions to ask yourself. You know, what do I really want now? What do I want from my life? And what is my purpose? They're really hard questions to tackle, very, very important. But often, again, we don't go there because we think we don't know, or we don't want to go down that path of exploration, or, not knowing is scary in itself. But bit by bit, so how can we work through that? You know, I hear journaling is something that is often done. But are there things that we can do to practice maybe as part of a daily routine to help us start to navigate the possible?
So journaling is a big one, because I get all my clients journaling, and really just starting to start with, just dump what's in your head. It doesn't need to make sense. You just write everything that's in your head, particularly if you're someone like me, whose mind never shuts up, and you kind of sometimes feel like yelling and going, shut up. Just write it. And it doesn't need to make sense. Just, it's what we call consciousness writing, just flow writing. Just allow it all to come. Never going to look at it again. No one else is going to read it. That's to start with. Just do that. Once you can kind of then get some clarity and get some space, then ask yourself what's possible, and just start to write and start to dream. And I use visioning. And within my programs, one of the things to do is we create a life plan. And that's a vision of what we want for our lives in different aspects. What do you want your health to look like? Because this is something that many people don't think about until they don't have the health. But what type of health do you want for the next, 30, 40 years? And create a vision for that. What type of relationship? What type of, job or, role do you want? How do you want to have fun? Your social life. So we do all of that, and we vision all of that. And once we've envisioned all of that, and we can use images, words, I tend to use more words, it's then who am I when I am doing that? So if I was living that life, who would I be? And a lot of people, when they kind of do vision boards, stick a Maserati on there and all these these things. And there's nothing wrong with that. But you need to imagine who you would be if you owned the Maserati. Who would you be if you had, the house on the beach? Who would you be? Because it's the person you are being, the emotion that you can connect to, that's what you create. And from that place, you can create anything. Because if you'd say, oh, well, if I was driving a Maserati, I'd be, I'd be confident, I'd be self-assured, and I'd be happy. So be that right now. Be happy, be confident, be self-assured, and then you will take actions that will get you closer to that Maserati. And even if you never get the Maserati, it doesn't matter. You've already become the person you wanted to be, and you'll get whatever it is that you decide you really want. So it's really, who do you want to be in that next stage of life? Do you want to be a victim to what's happening in your body, or do you want to be in the driver's seat and you decide what's happening in your life? Because many women get stuck in their bodies and how I feel. It's not working. I'm not working. I'm not good enough. My body's
and
broken.
How they feel.
Yeah. If they went into an emotion, then they'll actually find that they're not quite focused on where they think their body isn't working. Their body's just sending them messages. There's messages that the body is sending. It's telling you to wake up. And you just see it's a bit of an alarm system. It's saying you're not looking after yourself. You're not feeding yourself. You're not moving. You're not getting enough sleep. It's just sending you messages. That's the wisdom of the body. That's the wisdom of understanding what messages our body has for us. And then from there, we start to make different decisions, and we will do things differently. Thanks, Liz.
Yeah, absolutely. So it's that getting the knowledge, get some knowledge. Knowledge is power, but it also, the understanding takes the fear away the more we understand. And that's with anything in life, really. And then it's about listening to our bodies, and using menopause as a way to reset and help us define the possible. And I hopefully, I don't.
Okay,
Angela, you and I are going in and out like a disco girl. Our lights running off. I don't know. It's a bit distracting. But the other thing I wanted to, because we're a little bit over time now, but there's a couple of things. You recently shared the most incredible TED Talk that I saw.
Really weird.
Yeah, so let's put that in I'll put that in the comments too when we're done. Girls, you really need to watch this. This is, I know, very close to Angela's mission as well, and want and hope for all of us. But it was an awesome TED Talk, and it was just about this, menopause and embracing it, and go, let's talk about this. It shouldn't be that unspoken part of our lives. And also, Angela, you've got, I'm just going to put a little banner up. Let's see if this works. There we go. Now, girls, that's a link to a webinar that you've recorded, Ange, or that you're going to be having soon.
So I will be running this on the 23rd of June, 7:30. I think it's a Tuesday night or Wednesday night, or Thursday night. I don't know. It's one night during the week. It starts at 7:30. It's called Understanding Menopause, and it's a webinar where I'll be going through the physical changes that occur, as well as the emotional changes and what it is that you can do about it. So we'll be doing a lot more of this, talking a lot more about stepping into the next stage of your life and your wisdom. Plus, we'll also go through the physical stuff as well. Now, what I've just shared with you, Anita, in the chat is the link to the YouTube video. It's in your chat. So it's Shirley Weir.
Thank you very much for that. And that webinar is Shirley Weir. Right. She was brilliant. I wanted to watch it again and again. We've lost you again. Ange, I'm assuming that Ange, is the webinar free, darling?
Yeah. Oh, yes. Yeah, it's free. Yes. So if they register at that link,
okay, all right,
they'll be able, and I'll send the information out.
Okay, great. All right. Well, thank you so much. I really enjoy our chats about menopause, and I know the girls do too. It's a topic that affects us all the women that we serve in our communities, and I just wish that the internet would abide a bit more than what it has done today, so it's been a bit distracting. But thank you very much, Angela, for your time and for joining us on our lunchtime lives. It's been a pleasure to have you here. I think you're coming back one more time before the end of the month when we finish up. We've only got about 7 more to go, so I think we'll see you one more time before we're done.
Okay, well, you better let me know when.
Yes, I will do. We'll do. We've got one more. Thank you very much, girls. Have a great day. Tomorrow we are, hopefully, internet doing the right thing, we are crossing to the country kitchen of the lovely Maz, where she is going to be sharing with us something light and fun, her scone recipe. And there's a couple of ingredients in there that are quite surprising, because she's given me a bit of a sneak peek at what all that's about. And there are a couple of surprising recipes, but fail-safe scones, we're into it. Maybe that's something that will give us the support and nourishing we need for menopause as well, Ange.
Yes.
A good old scone.
Thanks for having me, Anita.
Certainly the conversation around the scone with a cup of tea is nice. Thanks very much, guys. See you next time. Bye.